Nothing beats a Gin 2 holiday.
Lord have
Right
mercy.
now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family.
I go on and on, can't understand how I last so long. I must have superpowers wrapped to fucking 5,000 hours. Get it calculated, do the math. I made 1,000 songs that made you move your ass. And for the last 300 months, I made 16 albums with me on the front, and they bump where you get your beats. I heard 93 rappers say bitch like me, 2 singers and 10 comedians, and I'm still gon' yell it every time you see me. And what's my favorite word? Why they gotta say it like short? You know they can play on my court, can't hang with the big dogs. Stay on the porch, blow the whistle, blow the whistle.
A wallet should create a visible bulge, but not a medical concern. Too thin suggests poverty. Too thick suggests disorganization or Italian ancestry.
I am going to expose what the Jews are doing to back integration, race mixing, and these race riots. And I think when the people find out that the Jews are behind it and have financed it, I think the people are going to understand why the Jews don't like me.
How are you going to expose it? What specifically?
I don't want the world to go to war. I want to stop the riots. I want to stop the exploitation of black people by the Jews for the purpose of destroying the American constitutional republic.
Check this out. I got Tommy in the hole. I got him been down in the mud. Want some candy? Sure. You can get your brother for telling your mother, or use him to get back at the girl who put you down. Listen, I got my best friend after school.
Nice shades.
I dare you. Change my mind. Flirt, squirting all the time. Look out!
Flirt, squirt, squirt guns in disguise.
I've been trying to tell you, you guys are eating human.
All right, Chef, can you tell us the 3 secret ingredients that might be found in this amazing sausage that you made for us today?
The 3 secret ingredients that might be found in the sausage are fish liver, human flesh, or shark.
Are those really the 3 ingredients?
Yeah, fish liver, human flesh, or shark.
You guys, is this...
Separate.
Is it?
And that's just that there's a stigma surrounding this.
We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Let's go on, Brian, please.
All right. Yo. Thank you, Kev. Thank you very much. All right, Joe. Fish liver, shark, or human flesh?
God help you, it better be shark.
All right, 2. What do you think it's going to be?
Shark, Tim.
Shark?
The liver is like too obvious, and I don't think it's human flesh, so I think it's shark.
Chef Keith, can you tell us what is the secret ingredient in this dish?
Yes, I'm afraid you're both wrong. It is human flesh.
No. No.
Whoa.
That's not okay. That's
No,
not all
hey,
right.
you know,
It's a wonderful renewable protein.
Well, hey, all right.
No,
Are you
that's
sure?
disgusting.
No, you know, I didn't know it was going to go like this
no,
either.
that's really
Problem with the
disgusting.
stigma of this.
Chef, are you serious?
Yeah, of course.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
gonna go throw up.
I didn't know we were going
That's
there. Are you okay?
I'm gonna go throw up. I need a bucket.
Wait, just have it. Here, we'll get you something right now. Yeah, bring a bucket in. You guys, come on, get a bucket in here right now.
Bring a bucket in here.
You okay?
Yeah, that's some next level. So, I would have loved to know when I was eating human flesh before I ate it.
This is very popular in my restaurant. You thought it was delicious. You said it was delicious, and I think there's a stigma about it. Think about it. Every day, 60,000 new sources of protein in this country alone.
Would like someone die and then you make it?
How else would we make it?
Oh,
I mean,
God.
many small villages.
Adrenochrome and its production. Now, adrenochrome apparently is all conspiracy theory. If you go to that reputable source of information, Wikipedia, Google, YouTube, apparently adrenochrome is just, no, there's nothing to it. In fact, you could even go to The Spectator Australia, that wonderful magazine that 1 time out of 10 gets it right. And it's the thing I've got a problem with these guys, like The Spectator and Sky News and all these people. They make us believe briefly that someone's speaking on our behalf. The Judas goat. That makes sense? You know what the Judas goat is, don't you? When you've got a mob of sheep, you've got to take them up to the slaughterhouse. The Judas goat leads them. They follow the goat turns left, the sheep go right, and so this is a company, CYM, adrenochrome. They produce adrenochrome. Now, you can't see it, so I'll read it for you. But right here, it sells the price, USDs per milligram. depending on the blood type, nearly $2,000 a milligram. Now, if you have a look at this, look across the top. Surname, name, birthday, adrenaline quality. How about that? Age, blood type, custody in months. How long they've been in custody. Suicide attempts. And the origin of the person from whom they're extracting the adrenochrome. You have a look at it. Names, birthdays, there's 6, 10, 12, 12, 9, 9, 8, 7, 10. Blood types, custody in months. The quality. This is page 1 of 12 pages. And this is one company in a short period of time. Now, you know there's something's true because if Snopes or the fact checkers come out and say it's false, and the moment they go to that much trouble, you can bet your bottom dollar that it's actually correct. So they've saved me a lot of time trying to figure out what's fake news and what's not. Yeah, do you want to know where some of the bodies went? Anybody heard about this one? Anybody know why McDonald's is going south? It has been alleged, not in Australia, but it has been alleged in the US, the babies' bodies were put into the processing, and Americans have been eating dead babies for years. Natural flavoring. Brilliant. You see the rabbit holes get sicker and sicker and sicker? Now, this is so shocking. As I said in that video way back when, the allegations will be so despicable that the only sensible response will appear to be to disregard it as complete rubbish. And yet there's the evidence of it. Now, who does this sort of work? Well, he's a staff member. And you've really got to ask yourself, what sort of person goes into work every day and does this sort of stuff? Well, this Daryl Hopper, warden, senior warden, these are the jobs she's had. And she happily works at CYM in the process of extracting adrenochrome. Now, there's a process called the fragmentation of conscience. This is how good people do bad things. Now, imagine you're working for a company, it's a chemical company, and your job is to get the chemicals from the sacks, put into the containers and seal them and send them off to the next customer, right? I'm just packing containers. But when you break down the production process from the beginning to the end into separate areas, they don't know what they're doing. That's how you do it. The fragmentation of conscience. I'm not responsible.
The FDA recently revoked the emergency youth authorizations for 3 COVID vaccinations while simultaneously greenlighting 4 new COVID-19 vaccines with 2025 and 2026 formulas.
Before I get into the reason why I'm making this video, I want to go over just a few things that the government knows about you. They know every text you've ever sent in the NSA. They know your exact location at every single moment. They know exactly what you have bought at the grocery store. They know your internet search history, even on your phone. They know how fast you drove to work if you went a mile over. They know exactly what's in your pockets at the airport with the TSA, exactly down to a piece of gum. They know every penny that you owe in taxes, every social media rant that you have, every word that they use. That's why they censor. They know everything you've ever streamed on Netflix. The list goes on and on and on and on. So you remember during COVID when they knew exactly how many people, how many cases, like 33 here and there, every single person that was sick, how many people were dying of COVID, right? Celebrities, politicians, when they got the cold, we all knew about it. So knowing all of that, do you think it's possible that the government might just know how many people have died suddenly from the COVID-19 shot? How many people are having massive medical conditions right now because of the COVID-19 shot? Yeah, I do too. So knowing that, why would this be happening right now?
What I will tell you is that the FDA recently revoked the emergency youth authorizations for 3 COVID vaccinations while simultaneously greenlighting 4 new COVID-19 vaccines with 2025 and 2026 formulas. The reason for the revocation of that emergency youth authorization is because obviously the COVID pandemic and the public health emergency is over. But just to correct the record, because there's been a lot of misinformation on this, the FDA's decision does not affect the availability of COVID vaccines for Americans who want them. We believe in individual choice. That's a promise both the president and the secretary have made, and it's a promise they have now delivered on.
So you know the reason why she's emphasizing freedom, that we all have the freedom, is because she knows that it's wrong deep down. That's why she's saying that. Because if it's all in the name of freedom, then all of these things that I mentioned here, shouldn't all those things go away? Because we don't have the choice there. And remember, these are the same tyrants that will ban games like jarts, lawn darts, because of safety, not mRNA because of blood clots to millions and millions of Americans.
For 2 years, I thought it was normal for a 10-year-old to wet the bed. We tried everything, but the solution was there all the time. I'm not afraid anymore!
About this. This came home in my 14-year-old son's bag. It says, to parents and guardians, a new law has been passed that all school districts must release to military recruiters the name, address, and phone number of all junior and senior students. The new law states that schools will request parents and guardians to complete a form indicating whether they grant permission for this information to be released to the military. The notification advises that in the event that they fail to complete and return this form to school, all requests for this information by the military will be honored. If you would like your student to be opted out, please return this form by September 13th, 2025. And then it's student's last name, first name, grade, student's signature, parent's signature. This is what my 14-year-old twins came home with. So what the fuck is this? The wording in this, my husband and I had to read it like 5 times. He was like, it sounds like in order to opt out, I need to fill out the information. They need to sign it. We need to sign it. And we need to bring it in. And I'm like, no, you're not signing anything that has anything to do with our children's information and the fucking U.S. military under this regime. But it's worded like, if you want to opt out, fill it out, bring it in. And if you don't bring it in, we're going to do it anyway. So you have to fill this out. And think about how many parents are going to read that and be like, oh, I don't want my kid to, I'm not filling this out. Like but this law, which it doesn't even state the name of the law, it just is the new law, states that all schools have to give the military so that they can build a draft list for apparently the fucking war we're going to go to.
I'm 35 years old. I live outside of Milwaukee, and on September 24th, 2012, I saw the Shrek in these woods. The Shrek is real. After a fight with my grandmother, I started walking around these woods. The green ogre run towards me. He smashed me down to the ground, and he put my face in the dirt. And he said, I know you are the strongest of your race. I must destroy you. He took his green freak hands and smashed glass with them. He said, eat your new dinner. He brought out the donkey. The donkey is not the cute, cuddly friend from the movies that we all know. The donkey is a hideous brown beast. He brought him out on a leash. And for every one human American tooth he has 5 million evil teeth. They forced me to masturbate my genitals until they were raw and broken. And they threw lunch meat at me and held a donkey at bay.
Did the angels come down and cut down all the giant trees? Watch this.
Enoch describes this perfectly. And this book was left out of the Bible on purpose from our predecessors, but it describes the angels coming down and cutting all these giant trees down to flood out the Nephilim, the giants, these beings that stretched 4,500 feet tall. These trees would reach the heavens, and that's why you always see the flat mountaintops.
That was an ancient
massive trees way back in the day. Giant trees. This was a much bigger realm. And they came and they cut all this down because they wanted to get rid of the Nephilim. They wanted to get rid of the giants. It is said that there's about 200 of these trees that were cut down. And if you take a look around, that's pretty accurate. There could be even more. But the evidence is right in front of your face. And when you cut a tree down, water will start pouring out from the trees. But it's as above, so below. The water's above the firmament. This is where all the flooding came in. It was right after they cut the trees down was when we experienced this massive flood. And it wiped out all of the giants, all of the Nephilim. And this was mentioned, again, in the book of Enoch. And they left it out on purpose, guys. Like, they left this shit out on purpose because they don't want you to know the real origins of humanity and our true history.
The Cherokee Nation coming out and telling black people like, hey, we made a mistake. Y'all are native. Y'all are the real deal. Was not on my bingo card. Mind you, a lot of us already knew that. A lot of us, including myself, grew up hearing from our parents and grandparents that we were Indian. And to those who have been brainwashed enough, this will sound crazy because it's the truth. That's why they hid it. But follow me, they're not even off the hook right now. Because the ones that are finally giving us our recognition aren't even native to this land themselves. The only reason now, even though they stole our identity, so they're not even indigenous to the land. So if they really want to get the shipping people away, they gotta go. The real reason why they want to tell everybody this information now is because their little communities over there look like trash. It's trash. They need us. They want us to come make it beautiful and structured and, do our little magic. It's literally a whole rabbit hole, and I feel like a lot of y'all really aren't ready to hear that. But we are and have been indigenous to this land. This is our land.
No, listen. Everybody was in on this con. It wasn't random. It was a whole coordinated rewrite, down to the European colonizers and merchants who profited it, some African nations and middlemen who sold captives under pressure or for profit, settler governments and courts who changed legal categories and institutions such as the Dole's Rolls, the treaties, and the census that reclassified whole identities. Oh, but no, let's keep going. Merchants kept the ledges. Officials kept the rolls. Judges enforced the laws. Missionaries kept the diaries. That's why the lie looked so neat. It had a whole workforce behind it. It was a whole network and system. Listen, Uncle Sam didn't lie alone. If we gotta talk about who kept the lie going, let's talk about it. We gotta include everybody, right? The so-called natives signed those treaties too, took the land deals and propped up the same story that erased us. As a matter of fact, the whole world was in on it. Schools, churches, they played their part too. And that's why the erasure went so deep. Everybody, the whole world was in on it. And this is why you have to understand the weight of all this. Because everything folds right back into us. This is why they flipped the maps. This is why they rewrote the timelines. This is why they told the slave trade story in reverse. And this is why they invented the Out of Africa story. Because the truth they fear is that all roads lead right back here to America. And if the whole world knew that America was really the motherland and that we are the original people of it, man, listen.
If it took 30 days for a ship to go from Africa to here, and let's say he got 200 on the ship, 200 times the 30 days plus supplies, how many ships would he need to bring 100 million niggas over here to North America?
All right, I believe, I actually,
do the mathematics.
Yeah.
Math don't lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So if we did the mathematics, there's no way that that story can fan out. Two, black people have always been in North America.
That's what I just
There has never been a time when the black man was not on the shores of North America.
Okay. Now, who are you calling the black man on the shores of North America? Who, particularly?
Who am I calling the black? Hey, Reggie, I know you didn't.
Just answer me.
Me.
Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Where you get that from? Grab the mic, spit one, let me hit that blunt. Pimp C8 ballin', MJG. Keep spitting that P to the IMP. Bum B, that's Texas, baby. Ballin' G, that's Memphis, baby. Short dog, that's Oakland, baby. Ain't nothing but pimpin' these days, G. My brother C got locked up, but these real hoes still know they got to fuck. Give a fuck what you say. Short dog fuck with UGK. Do you really wanna be like me? Spit game like Snoop and TIP. Pretty girls in the VIP. They came with Dre, they don't need ID. Blow the whistle.
Trey Reed was found hanging from a tree at Delta State University in Mississippi shortly after CK was. Authorities were very quick to rule that Trey Reed took his own life, and it was very suspicious. So actually Colin Kaepernick funded a second independent autopsy, and those results are now in. Here are a few things that the first autopsy conveniently left out. It appears as though Reed suffered blunt force trauma on the back of his head, and that was not in the first report. Also, the belt that was found and used on Reed was 3 sizes too big for him, so it would not have been his belt. And the injuries around his neck were reported to not be consistent with a self-unaliving of that form. It was also not reported that he was found on a part of campus that was conveniently known for not having cameras. It was also neglected to be told to everybody that he had gotten in an altercation a few days prior with a group of white students over the death of CK. So putting that all together, does it still really look like he took his own life? No, it doesn't. It looks like somebody's covering up what happened to him.
Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
It decreases the ability to produce white blood cells by 50% from your first vaccine. Then, 8 weeks later, which is white blood cell reproductive system, so your ability to make another generation of white blood cells is 8 weeks. That's why they set it up 8 weeks later, to hit it again. So you hit the white blood cell ability while it's down. So now what you do is now they decrease the saline in the second one, and they increase the harmful ingredients. So now you have a shift in the ingredients. So they decrease the saline and increase. So now there's a shift. And then what they do is that second dose attacks your ability to make white blood cells by an additional 25%. So now you only have white blood cell ability, like the ability to make white blood cells functioning at 25%. So you just wiped out 75% of your military and the ability to make that military. Then what they do is they set in the booster. The booster has 81 strands of foreign bacteria that your cells have never come across, so you don't have the antibodies to fight it, but you only have 25% of your white blood cell production to be able to fight it, so it's a losing battle. So then what starts to happen is you start to get chronic inflammation that goes to the areas that you had predisposition. So if you were someone that has gut health issues, that's your area that it's going to focus on, and you're going to have
The microparasites described by Dr. Weber that you can see here can be found in the tissue of all cancer patients. Mainstream cancer research denies their existence. However, they are called differently. What Dr. Weber calls, for example, a gamete, the mainstream cancer researchers call cell-intrinsic organelles. And what Dr. Weber calls the youth form, the mainstream calls apoptotic vesicles. Active movement. We can see here moving corpuscles inside of an immune cell. The mainstream cancer research believes those are the organelles of the cell and they move because this is part of the life process of the cell itself. Let's accept this theory for a moment. That would mean that if the cell dies, the organelles have to die as well. But exactly that does not happen.
Let me key off of something, Mr. Miller, you said. You said foolish mistakes were made. I think the president actually said it better. He said that the handling of those tax-exempt applications in that process at the IRS was outrageous and intolerable. No excuse. And as much as we know that the folks at IRS have a thankless job because they have to go and tell their fellow Americans that they may be audited or they have to do this work understaffed, we have to maintain the confidence in the system because it's a voluntary system of payment of our taxes.
Agreed.
Because it's a voluntary system of payment of our taxes. Agreed.
And so, you are right, it was a foolish mistake, but the president's even more correct that it was outrageous and intolerable.
The history we've been taught, the medicine we've been taught, the life we have been taught is false, and it's because it comes out of this order, as I've showed you, these groups here. A quick look at the costumes these groups wear is the, let's see, let me find it here. Yes, is this slide here, the Cult of Baal image drawn by Dylan Monroe. And this shows you, looking at the top here, this shows you the costumes that these groups have worn so that you would never see the actuality below the costume. And so they've hidden themselves inside of the kings, inside the royalty, inside the ruling groups and empires that have controlled and steered humanity. And this evil has cloaked itself in many different forms, such as the Roman Empire, the Roman Catholic Church, the Jesuit Order, Pharaonic Egypt, These would be the costumes that the evil has adorned so that you would never know that you're being ruled by evil. And when you look at a map like this, where it shows how they've simply changed their costume within the theater that is the human collective, you'll see how they have mastered the human race and controlled it.
The thing about the red hat that drove me to a point of exhaustion, which was misdiagnosed by I'm not going to say what race, what people, doctor, and what hospital, and what media it went to. We know I can't say that. It was a Jewish doctor.
8 million, up to 8 million children a year are vanishing. Many of them are being tortured to create adrenochrome for that blood high. All right, so there's a lot of great evil going on. Having said that, Hillary Clinton sold Yemen and Syria to Saudi Arabia. She sold Libya to France, and she sold Uranium One to Russia. And she had 30,000 emails, many of which dealt with her pedophilia adventures, okay, with the Podestas and so forth. The wealth is actually concentrated by the banks, and the banks are using war as a profit center, and they're manipulating currency and stock exchanges, interest rates, to basically treat the 99%, the deplorables, as cattle. The Great Depression was contrived by the banks with the complicity of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The Great Depression was contrived in order to destroy the middle class that was seeking additional political power, to buy up America at Depression-level prices, and to consolidate banking control over the U.S. government. All of the suffering in the Great Depression was contrived by the banks. Right. Just as wars today are contrived by the banks.
Happened around free speech, something nobody seems to be talking about, happening in the background while none of us are paying attention. The bluest state in the country, California, just passed the most censorious bill ever to be introduced in this country, SB 771, passing the Assembly on September 10th, 10 days ago. Then on September 16th, passing the Senate, completely under our noses, which means right now, all that stands between complete statewide government censorship is Gavin Newsom's signature. Now, am I exaggerating about how bad this bill is? No, I am not. Here is the actual bill. You can pull this up yourself on the state's website. The bill is called SB 771. It's called Personal Rights Liability Social Media Platforms. In Section 2, Title 23 of the bill, it defines the penalties for breaking this new California law. If you post something on social media anywhere online that the state of California deems to be hateful, there's a penalty for that reckless violation, a civil penalty of up to $500,000. For an intentional, knowing, or willful violation, a civil penalty of up to $1 million. That is the definition of the state controlling speech, folks, not what Trump just did. We don't like what the FCC chairman happened to say on Benny Johnson's show, but there's a huge difference between that and real government censorship. And what type of speech is California trying to police here? Well, let's read from the bill. It says, this bill protects against online harassment, particularly when directed at historically marginalized groups. Which means what? If you were to, I don't know, point out who the Kavanaugh assassin is, which we all just learned about this morning in this new court filing, if you were to say who that person is, would you be fined $500,000? Pretty frightening. All of this happening in the midst of the media and Democrats, Barack Obama, Kamala Harris making hay out of Trump trying to attack the First Amendment. Meanwhile, the state of California is actively passing UK-style laws that will fine you for saying the wrong thing. Pretty wild. And this bill is completely done, folks. It's passed in the House. It's passed in the Senate. All that's left is Gavin Newsom.
By the way, it's all his fault that we're spending $6 billion in taxpayer money this month to help fight HIV/AIDS.
Are you a retard?
No.
Don't fuck with me, retard.
What a field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street.
So, as if this Charlie Kirk thing couldn't get any weirder, you've got Candace Owens now releasing the text messages, which pretty much backs up everything she said. And this is starting to look more and more JFK every day. I mean, the coroner report? No. The autopsy report? No. An official burial or a burial plot? No. Death certificate? Haven't seen it. No findings, no ballistics, no crime scene anymore. That was destroyed 24, 48 hours after. I mean, they just cemented over the place. The Dairy Queen, whether or not that's actually true and the timing lines up, the Dairy Queen shut. You know, the stadium thing, like whether they booked it or not in advance, in 11 days, they put together a full WWE style show with pyrotechnics and all. I mean, if you've ever put together a stadium show, and I have, it takes 11 days to schedule the parking. You know what I mean? It's crazy. The body being flown out like JFK on Air Force 2 in this case. I mean, within 24 to 48 hours. The gun was found on Palantir property. I mean, the FBI fired most of the brass at the field office weeks in advance. And then you got this Erica Kirk stuff. I mean, this Romania connection and being a model for Trump and it's all like, wow. I just don't, it doesn't make sense. I mean, and then you got the shooter. I mean, the videotapes, I mean, none of it makes any sense. Screwdriver, assemble, disassemble in 6 seconds. 6 seconds. Go research the JFK case.
He's not really the father of communism, but it's a name that's been tagged onto him. You see, he was just a hack writer hired by the mystery religion of Babylon to write the Communist Manifesto. It was not his idea, but he's reaped the benefits of it, if you can call them benefits. But he co-authored the Communist Manifesto with Frederick Engels, another hack writer, in 1848. Mr. Marx wrote that the communists, quote, openly declare that their ends can be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions, unquote. Nesta Webster, a writer on the subject of conspiratorial organizations in the past, wrote this in her book entitled Secret Societies, quote, the revolution desired by the leaders of world revolution is a moral and spiritual revolution, an anarchy of ideas by which all standards set up throughout 19 centuries shall be reversed, all honored traditions trampled underfoot, and above all, the Christian ideal finally obliterated.
What's protruding out of Charlie's back? Air compressor backpack. Latex on neck covering, liquid patch. Detonated to produce shot, wound, and liquid. Rumor has it an award-winning FX makeup artist was part of his entourage that day. Was the necklace really an airline?
Hola, soy Charlo Snyder Calleja, directora para las mujeres en actividades sexuales pagas, Ministerio de Igualdad y Equidad. Hoy, 20 de noviembre, conmemoramos el Día Internacional de la Memoria Trans.
Some of my friends call me Charlie, some of my friends call me Chuck.
Got your action, you got your superhero, and very funny. Of course, you're in the film, and there's a surprise twist regarding...
I'm a man. It's okay.
No, that's not the surprise.
I wanted to come on your show and let the surprise you out.
How tall are you?
I'm only like 5'9.5". Like, that's really it. Like,
5'9.5", 5'10", that's fine.
Yeah, that's not freakish, is it?
No, that's not the issue here.
On, and it's like, yeah, I become somewhat of a boy-she. Somewhat of a boy-she. You and I are the same, perfect genetic specimens. Think of how beautiful our children would be. They would be the best of both of us.
The bombshell star admits she's always learning when it comes to parenting, including what pronouns to use for her child Jackson, who was assigned male at birth.
Thank you so much to the World Economic Forum for this award. The world is incredibly overpopulated. And I am a UN messenger of peace.
They named you Woman of the Year.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
Men dress like women, which, usually you have to really encourage a man to do that. These boys do not need encouragement.
These are the pictures of the festivity.
Yeah, you could maybe think that was the Academy Award, but...
And the Oscar goes to?
No, I had massive plastic surgery and I needed to heal from it. I fell to my knees and cried like a girl.
How do you get your legs so shiny? They named you Woman of the Year. Yeah. That's remarkable.
All right, so this is what I was able to find. I thought this was interesting. In the symbolic language of masonry, a mason always travels from west to east in search of light. He travels from the lofty Tower of Babel, where language was confounded and masonry lost. That's interesting if you consider who built the Tower of Babel, which is Nimrod, which is Gilgamesh, to the threshing floor of Renan, the Jebusite, where language was restored and masonry found. So that would be a good study. The Master Mason also travels into foreign countries in search of wages. All this is pure symbolism, unintelligible for any other sense. The other thing, traveling Masons, this basically just kind of got into the history of how the Masons kind of traveled throughout the different countries and kind of how sorry, I had a call come in. But basically, it seems to me like this is just kind of going through the history of the Freemasons and how they kind of traveled throughout the realm, more or less, and how each, different, just different accounts of things. What did I see there? The mysteries of art themselves. Yeah, so maybe I'm just buzzing through here quick, but I didn't really see anything super interesting in this part. So it kind of going through like the establishment of these different lodges in these different cities throughout the world. So, yeah.
Baseball itself, the origins might be demonic. How? What? Throwing and hitting a bat? Everything about baseball is very related to the Freemasons. The diamond they play on is in what shape? It's in the same shape of the compass in the Freemason logo. Now back this. What is the degree of the angle in that diamond? What is it? Like 33 degrees. Why? Because 33 is the highest level you can go in Freemasonry. No. Remember? The MLB baseball bats? They're 33 inches in length and 33 ounces in weight. Yes, fam. Also, the threads on the baseball itself, there's 33 on each line. What? Theory was they made it as homage to the Freemasons or whatever ritualistic things they want to get into. What's being talked about right now is how every sport references what god or what deity. What? Remember we were talking about the cowhead is named ball. Baseball. Yo, think about it, man. Baseball, basketball, man. Fam. It might actually be something more than we think. Demonic.
Well, as Hunter Adams reminds us, God is a German word. So what we have to begin to do is to look at our concept of the Creator through our own cultural lens. Kemet, or ancient Egypt, is the oldest documented civilization. It's much older than Mesopotamia. Well, let me back up for a second. The very first Homo sapiens sapiens, human beings, were born in Africa. And therefore, it makes sense then, since Africans have lived on the planet much longer than anybody else, and that geneticists, through tracing the mitochondrial DNA, have identified the common denominator that links all human beings. All human beings, regardless as to their race, have within them the mitochondrial DNA, which links them to a group of women who are still living in Africa today. So that should, on a genetic level, settle the question as to who was Adam and Eve. If you want to use that Christian reference, the first male and female on the planet lived in Africa, hence they were Africans. And Africans lived on the planet for hundreds of thousands of years before other human beings speciated from those Africans after they walked out of Africa into Asia and then across the land bridge, the Bering Strait into the Americas and down into North America and South America, and then populated all of the islands within the Pacific. So every human being is a descendant from Africans. The people classified as Caucasians did not come into existence until about 40,000 years ago. So they are latecomers to humanity. And this is something that is known by geneticists. This is known by paleontologists. They may not talk about it publicly, but they know this to be a fact. So since the first human beings lived in Africa, it makes sense then that we would find evidence of the first civilization. And we found that evidence in Kemet. So what we know is that according to the story of ancient Kemet, that civilization was founded by a man by the name of Asar. The stories of most people, regardless as to where they may have lived, is usually shrouded in myths. And myths are not necessarily falsehoods in and of themselves. They're a way of explaining the unexplainable in such a manner that anybody can understand it.
Okay, so I was today years old when I found out this conspiracy theory about my own hometown, St. Louis, and the St. Louis Gateway Arch. So apparently this thing is supposed to be like a weather switch. I have never heard this in all of my life. Check this out. I found this article that said conspiracy theorists have long argued the arch's true use. Some have famously compared it to a light switch, able to direct rain and severe weather away with the flip of a finger, while others theorize it's a common ground for secret meetings of extraterrestrials. What?
So y'all heard about that guy who found that alien and has it in his house? No, not the guy with the black goo alien. I'll do an update on him soon. And no, not the Boogosphere. This is a completely different guy. That's right, we have another hero. But instead of a sphere, this one's more like a rod cone type of thing. It also has writing on it that's just like the Boogosphere. I mean, check out this video and tell me if it's real. As you can see, he has it in this basement, and every time he goes to record it, the lights start to really flicker. And this is really weird. He puts this radio frequency next to it, and it starts to shake like it wants to get out of there, and tries to do some tests with it. So far he's found out it's just like that alien. It burns plants, the stand that it's on, and him. What the why is it over here? Needless to say, it's doing a lot of strange behavior. Also, the symbols on it really do look like 3-Eye Atlas. The words that are written on it also look like two comets approaching a sun. So we got another hero, y'all. Somebody who came through, saw a UFO, and went and snagged it for themselves, put it in a basement. This is exclusive breaking news. So if you go to his YouTube channel, he doesn't have that many followers, and follow him and ask questions and see if this is real. It's looking like some alien force really wants us to find all of these alien drones and even aliens right now. We really got to appreciate them all doing it for the culture, you know. It's becoming harder to deny what's happening now. And I promise I have nothing to do with any of this. I'm just sharing this information. Now, I have my theories on this. What do you think it is? Are we being invaded?
Then, when they're arguing over who will get my top and who will get my bottom for sex, I decided this is the time to run. I ran away and found a police car. They did not believe my story. They arrested me for public nudity. And I'm here to claim my name. I will be the leader. I will be the general. I will lead the army into the woods to destroy him. What do I need? I need $50 million, 3 million guns, trees that can get out of the water and walk, 3 good Terminators, 5 Hulks, a Green Goblin costume with a RoboCop helmet, 6 Transformers, a cup of alien blood that is also acid, my dead dad to come back to life and tell me he loves me. Only you can help me destroy Shrek.
Yeah. Welcome to Hoodoo Month, you hear me? You already know what's up. Time to pay homage. So you know we gotta talk about my baby Julia Brown. Is Julia Brown cursed? The lady who wiped out the whole town. Now, Julia Brown was born in Louisiana, 1845. In St. Bernard. She married a man named Celestin Brown in 1880. Now, about 20 years later, after they got married, the federal government gave her husband 40 acres of land. When her husband died, the land was passed over to Julia Brown. The Census Bureau don't make any mentions of Julia Brown's voodoo work. which isn't surprising, especially during the time where they didn't even want us practicing the things that we was practicing anyway, you heard me? Now, a modern New Orleans voodoo priestess today named Bloody Mary, she told Mental Floss that she basically found records of a Brown, who some considered a voodoo priestess who worked in New Orleans around the 1860s. Now, this was before she moved to Lake Frenier, a small town in Louisiana. Now, before she moved to Frenier, basically she was a local doctor in New Orleans helping people with her root work. Now, the town Frenier is about a half-hour west of New Orleans and basically is rich with thick swamp ooze. In the summer, the water is pea green and covered in leaves. Nothing but insects and ghosts that hide beneath the cypress trees in the forest. So those who are entering in the swamps face a bunch of threats: dehydration, sunstroke, and having to deal with the alligators and the animals amongst the jungle. Now, they say anybody that's entering the swamp need to be aware of all of the supernatural things that take place in the swamp. But that shit didn't matter to Miss Julia Brown, because Miss Julia Brown lived in the swamp, on the edges of it. Now, Miss Julia Brown would work with residents throughout the town, and that would help them with root work, healing, spiritual healing, psychological healing. And they said she was known for her curses and her charms, as well as singing eerie songs on her front porch. She had her little guitar, she'd be singing a certain song on her front porch. People was afraid of that song. Now, the song she was singing was basically, one day she's going to die, she's going to take the whole town with her, you heard me? Frenier were prosperous settlements clustered on the edge of Lake Pontchartrain, which is sustained by the logging of centuries of old cypress trees. Go look up what them cypress trees is, you heard me? And also farming cabbages and thick black soil. Now, the railroad was the town's lifeline, which was bringing in groceries from New Orleans, hauling in all type of resources all the way to Chicago. Now, they had no roads, no electricity, and no doctors, but for somehow they carved out a beautiful community, which was very cohesive and self-reliant.
So I started reading it, and I'm like, whoa, holy moly. I'm like, what the heck is this? It was just a secular, pure scientific thing, but it talked about this thing called, here's the word, fetal microchimerism. Write that puppy down, okay? Fetal microchimerism. The chimerism is CH, not a K. Okay, it's a hard CH. Fetal microchimerism. So some scientists in different universities around the world had discovered this on just a secular level. They were doing studies on women in like Sweden, even in Washington State and a couple places around the world simultaneously, on women. And they discovered that during these research, some of the women got sick because it was a long-term study. And they found that there were cells in these women's bodies, living cells, that were not hers. And they were like, okay, this is interesting. What do we make of this? And they discovered that when these women were sick, they thought, well, these cells, through their studies, are the cells of her children. Now, some of these women had not been a mother in the physical sense of having a baby in them recently at all, like a long time ago. But they discovered that it was the cells of their children, living cells, still in her body. But they thought, well, this doesn't bode well for motherhood. It looks like the cells of her children are causing the illness. This is not good. They kept studying. Guess what they discovered? Oh, that's not the case. It's the opposite. When a mother becomes sick, the cells of her children, all the children she's had, rush to the area of her body to fight for her life. Scientifically proven. Fetal microchimerism. Whoa! But some amazing things were discovered as well, other than that. Many of these women, when they were having the testing done, didn't put down that they were mothers. So the scientists were confused because there are cells in your body that are not yours, and you didn't put that you were a mother. This is weird. Well, they were, but they didn't put certain things on there. Maybe out of embarrassment or just, it's difficult to deal with. Miscarriage, right? So many women experience that, but you're a mother. But they didn't put it on there. But then it was understood, oh, okay, well, you were a mother, right? And you had the baby there for a period of time, because this cellular exchange happens within the first trimester of the pregnancy. Amazing stuff. But then there were others who said that they didn't have a miscarriage. You know what they said they had had? An abortion. Yeah. Making, obviously, the wrong decision, terminating the pregnancy, taking the life of the child, a horrible decision, of course. But you're a mother. And isn't it ironic that the life that was terminated now fights for yours? Yeah, scientifically proven, fetal microchimerism. And the studies are still being done because they found that women still, in their old age, still have cells of their children alive in their bodies, fighting for them. This is mind-blowing stuff. Mind-blowing.
Nunca tenha medo, chiquindinha, chiquindinha, o seu inimigo, chiquindinha, chiquindinha, quando não é você. que começa a brigar, também nunca ande de cabeça baixa e bem danado, pois nem tudo que cai do céu é sagrado, pois nem tudo que cai do céu é sagrado. Para que este vaza, deixa a praia descoberta, uma onda vai, outra onda vem. Não fique triste, que seu amor pode vir também. Não fique triste, pode vir também. Aí então você vai me dizer se eu tenho razão, sim ou não. Pois é por experiência própria que eu perdoei o meu coração. Infeliz no jogo, feliz no amor, saúde e felicidade, pra dar e vender. E se a reza é forte, você vai ver que amanhã um lindo dia vai nascer. E amanhã um lindo dia vai nascer.